Welcome everyone. Hope everyone's doing well. Had a good week managing these challenging and unique times. This week's Isaac Soni is dedicated Lilu Nishmas Rabbi Binyamin Zev Schmelz, Olav Hashalom, brother to Jonathan, uncle to Eitan and Avi Schmelz, alumnus of the Yeshiva. And Benji was one of my best friends in college and Yeshiva growing up. He walked down the aisle at my wedding, the nicest, kindest, most giving, most generous person you ever know. And he was taken from this world way, way too soon. So this Dvar Torah is dedicated to him. So we open up this week a new Sefer Bamidbar, and Shavuos is around the corner. And I'm sure I've shared this with you before, but I think in light of the world that we're living in right now, I think there's a tremendous insight that we find from the Hagdama, the Psicha of the Netziv to Sefer Bamidbar. And the Netziv points out that Chazal gave names to each and every one of the Sfarim in Chumash. And Bamidbar is known as Chumash HaPekudim by Chazal. Chumash HaPekudim, English translation, the Book of Numbers. And then it points out it's a very striking name. There's a lot of action in Sefer Bamidbar. Not all good action, but there's a lot going on in this Sefer. It's the Meraglim, Korach. There's a lot to talk about. Yet, for some reason, the parts of the Sefer that we might find the most dry, the sensai, when we count Klal Yisrael, the listing of all the Shvatim and how many people in each Shevet, that's what the Sefer is called after. It's Chumash HaPekudim, the book of numbers, the book of the census. Why? Why that name of all names? Why is that the appellation that Chazal gave? So the Netziv explains a very fundamental yesod. He says this Sefer, Bamidbar, is a fundamental transition Sefer from the generation of Jews that left Mitzrayim, spent 39 years in the Midbar, and then died out, and the new generation that is born in the Midbar, and that's going to enter into Eretz Yisrael. And these two generations are radically different. They're fundamentally different. The door that left Mitzrayim, they saw such amazing things. They saw the Eser Makos, and they saw Kriyas Yamsuf. And 39 years in the Mun, they had a very unique hashgacha, the Anan by day, the Eish by night, Mun every single day. And then their clothing didn't wear out. They saw Kabbalas HaTorah at Har Sinai Kolos Ubrakim. It was a door Deya that had Chazal say Vayhi Or. They saw every aspect of light, a unique Hashgachas Hashem. And they didn't have to live in natural existence. Even when they fought wars, the war with Amalek was a supernatural kind of war where Hashem essentially did everything for them. And then we transition to the next generation. That door, after 39 years, dies out in the Midbar, and a new generation emerges. And that's the generation that's going to nichnas, that's going to go into Eretz Yisrael, a new census. That census takes place at the end of the Sefer in Parshas Pinchas. The first census is in our Parsha Bamidbar. We count the people. This is the generation that left Mitzrayim. Parshas Pinchas, the generation is going to go into Eretz Yisrael after 40 years in the Midbar. That's a very different generation. That generation is going to get back into the real world. They're going to have to enter and conquer the land of Eretz Yisrael with real warfare. In fact, that starts already towards the end of the Sefer. The battles with Sichon, Moab, and Midian, those are real wars where there's a less than supernatural process. And then we enter into Eretz Yisrael, and there's going to have to be farming and weaving clothing and a real regular existence. And that's the next generation. And the Netziv says these two sensai highlight these two generations. And it's interesting, but Hashem wants us to live in a real world. Hashem wants us to engage in Hishtadlus. He wants us to farm land. He wants us to work. He wants us to make our own clothing, deal with the struggles of day-to-day life. That is the teva that we're supposed to live in. And there is a blip of time, 40 years in the Midbar, in Mitzrayim and leaving Mitzrayim, where there's a miraculous time with such profound and special hashgacha pratis. And the idea is, of course, to take that and bring that into Eretz Yisrael. See, I mention this now, and I think it's so appropriate and so meaningful, because we find ourselves right now, certainly in Israel. In Israel is the case, perhaps also creeping that way in the United States and other parts of the world. But Israel is really starting to open up in a meaningful way, perhaps even too fast for some people's tastes. But the schools are now open. As of yesterday, shuls have opened up. They've given permission to open up. 50 people with masks, with all the precautions, but the shuls are opening up. People going back to work. The roadways are once again filled. The streets have people on them. We just happen to have a blazing hot heat wave, but aside from that, people are out much more, getting back slowly but surely, get back to some sense of normalcy. Not full normalcy, we're still wearing masks, we're still social distancing, but some sense of normalcy. And Hashem wants us to be normal. But there's something very meaningful about this 10 weeks that we've suffered through. And it's been hard. It's been so hard. Too many losses, too much pain, too much suffering. But at the same time, I think, at least what I've observed, is there's been such a greater God consciousness, Hashem consciousness. I'm getting bombarded day after day, hour after hour of all these shiurim that are available to the public. So many Torah opportunities that are being presented worldwide. A sense of achdus, vayichan.com, people coming together that otherwise would not normally come together. Many of us are reflecting, why is Hashem doing this? What are we supposed to learn from it? What are we supposed to take away from it? And yes, I believe when we do have tsaros, there is a greater God consciousness. We are more aware. We are more attuned to spirituality. We're rethinking so many things. We're rethinking, as Rabbanim are asking us to, how we conduct our weddings, how we should behave in shul. We're doing a lot of introspection because there's so much more Hashem consciousness. Yet at the same time, we're starting to get ready to, be'ezrat Hashem, get back to normal. We're starting to leave our homes. We're starting to go back to shuls. We're starting to go back to tefillah b'tzibur. And as a result, it's so easy to slip back into normal. And I think that's perhaps the message of Chumash HaPekudim, of Sefer Bamidbar. And that's the message of this time, at least that I take away from this time. Because yes, over the past 10, 11, 12 weeks, we have really developed a greater sense of God consciousness. We think about Hashem a lot. We're davening to Hashem perhaps stronger now than when we have the strictures of the Beis Knesset. Perhaps we are more focused on our learning and what the magnificent Torah opportunities there are for us out there. And perhaps we're more focused also on our family that we spend more time with now that we are closer to home. And these are amazing, positive things. The question is, what happens as we leave our homes, as we get back to some kind of semi-normal? Are we going to carry some of these lessons with us? I would really recommend, as again, Israel might be slightly ahead, but as we start to inch towards greater normalcy, I'll put it that way, what are the takeaways? And I would recommend strongly writing down 1, 2, 3 takeaways, maybe a takeaway, a family takeaway, what I've grown and how I can improve myself in terms of family and take that away. A takeaway with respect to how I conduct myself in shul. A shul takeaway, once the gift of shul is brought back to us, how we go ahead and conduct ourselves in shul. A Talmud Torah takeaway. So many online opportunities, so many great learning opportunities as we get to Kabbalas HaTorah. What is my takeaway? My relationships with my spouse, with my kids, with my siblings. So many possible takeaways, and it would be such a shame if the growth opportunities that have presented themselves to us, despite the tsaros, over the past 10, 12 weeks, are not fully seized upon. So, Bez Hashem, we take the lesson of Chumash HaPekudim, the lessons of this midbar-like existence, where we're in solitude, where we're away from normal, but kind of getting ready to slowly go back to normal. And Bez Hashem, learn the lessons of a midbar existence and take that into our more normal existence. If so, then certainly we will have drawn the tremendous lessons that we're supposed to take, and we'll have grown from it. Have a wonderful Shabbos Kodesh.